Hello. We hope you're enjoying your stay at Tusi's place.
To help you make the most of your time in Kamakura, we've prepared the sightseeing guide.
Today, we'll introduce you to the Kitakamakura Old Private House Museum.
It's a really special spot.
It really is. This isn't just, any old museum. We're doing a bit of a deep dive today because it's such a fascinating look at um, cultural preservation, art, and even the beauty of the changing seasons.
Absolutely.
So our goal here is to kind of unpack the history, look at the amazing architecture, and just appreciate the really serene feeling you get in this unique space.
Yeah.
And it feels especially relevant if you're looking for something a bit more reflective, maybe a slower pace during your Kamakura trip.
Yeah,
Especially if you got that flexibility staying somewhere like Toshi's place gives you.
exactly. And there's so much to talk about how the building was put together, the seasonal stuff, the whole philosophy behind it. It really unfolds the more you look.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. The story of how this museum even came to be is, well, pretty remarkable in itself, isn't it?
It really is. It's an incredible example of architectural regeneration. See, the museum isn't one single structure built on this spot originally.
Yeah.
It's actually a combination, a kind of merger of three completely separate historical buildings.
Sure.
Yeah. You've got an old farmhouse, which was carefully moved all the way from Fukui Prefecture.
Okay.
Then there's a traditional Japanese warehouse and itakura, the type built with those thick wooden boards stacked horizontally.
Uh-huh.
And finally, a former traditional Japanese restaurant, a ryoti, that originally stood in Yokohama.
That's amazing. And the really compelling part, I think, is that these weren't just moved, they were saved,
Yeah.
right? Weren't they set to be demolished?
Exactly. All three were either going to be torn down or had already been abandoned. So instead of disappearing, they got this incredible second chance through this, well, really ambitious mission.
It just makes you think about the sheer effort involved. I mean,
Yeah.
bringing three different buildings together like that, what was the biggest challenge, do you think?
Oh, that's a great point. It was a massive undertaking. The whole restoration process took over 10 years.
A decade.
Yeah, a decade of really meticulous work. They didn't just plonk them down, they had to revitalize them. They used reclaimed materials from the original buildings where possible, but also brought in new materials to strengthen things up, making sure they'd last.
So preserving, but also reinforcing.
Precisely. And they use traditional techniques like noboribari, these angled beams. You see them inside, specifically designed to boost the structural strength. It helps the buildings adapt, stand strong for years to come. It really needed a team effort, expert carpenters, designers, special construction crews.
So it wasn't just about moving them, it was about understanding the history baked into the structures themselves. These aren't just generic old buildings, are they?
Oh, not at all. They date from the late Edo to early Meiji periods. So we're talking late 19th, early 20th century. Each one is well over 100 years old. And what's really fascinating is how they managed to weave these separate histories together. They preserved the individual stories but created something, well, entirely new, like the ryoti from Yokohama. There's a story that it once hosted Har Senkai.
Oh, the founder of the Sankai Garden in Yokohama.
That's the one. So
Yeah.
even the timbers have these little historical connections.
That's incredible, a real touch of history. And it's not just about age, it's the actual building techniques too, right?
Exactly. You can see techniques specific to Fukui, where that farmhouse came from, built to handle heavy snow. That tells you a lot about their resilience.
Makes sense.
For example, they used kiyaki wood, that's zelkova, for the columns. It's known for being incredibly strong.
Okay.
And then pine for the beams, because it's more flexible, resists twisting. You also spot clever uses of repurposed materials from totally different old buildings, like around the entrance and the stairs.
So mixing and matching history.
Kind of. And if you go upstairs to the second floor, you can see the exposed beams really close up. It gives you a fantastic view of the traditional joinery, the skill involved. It's like a living museum of craftsmanship.
But what really catches my eye is that it's not just traditional Japanese, is it? There's this really interesting blend with Western design elements, those stained glass windows.
Ah, yes. above the courtyard doors. They're beautiful, aren't they? From the Taisho to early Showa period, so early 20th century.
Such a contrast, but it works.
It's a wonderful fusion, and it tells a story, you know? It reflects that period when Japan was rapidly modernizing. You see these deeply traditional spaces starting to embrace new influences, like Western stained glass, but without losing their core identity.
Right, a sign of the times.
Exactly. Tradition and innovation side by side. It creates this unique East-West vibe that people really love. It's very photogenic, too.
It definitely sounds like it captures a moment. And just as these historical bits weave together, the museum itself isn't static, is it? It functions as this living space for art and ideas that change.
That's right. The exhibitions inside are always evolving. They rotate throughout the year, so you might see contemporary paintings one time, maybe prints or crafts the next. Plus, they display their own collection of antique ceramics and furniture.
So every visit could be different.
Pretty much. It's designed to keep you coming back, always finding something new to discover.
And there's a deeper idea of philosophy, kind of woven into the fabric of the place, too.
There absolutely is. Inside, you'll find this striking piece of calligraphy. It says Onko Chishin.
Oh.
Exactly. It basically means learning from the past to understand the present. And it was written by Tokugawa Isato, the 16th head of the Tokugawa family.
Wow. That phrase, onko chishin, it feels like it sums up the whole museum perfectly.
It really does. It is the museum's heartbeat. It's not just about saving old buildings, it's about making them meaningful now, showing how that old craftsmanship can connect with modern art, how a historic place can give us fresh perspectives today. That's the real magic, I think.
That makes so much sense. And speaking of interacting with the space, I heard something really interesting about the exhibits. Sometimes they don't have captions.
Yes, that's a deliberate choice for some pieces.
So what's the thinking behind that? What does it do for the visitor experience?
Well, it encourages you, the visitor, to form your own interpretation. Instead of being told what to think or feel, you get to engage directly with the art, you know? Find your own sense of beauty or meaning.
A more personal connection.
Exactly. It pushes for a more thoughtful, contemplative interaction. And adding to that atmosphere, they use these lovely retro furnishings and lamps throughout. They blend so well with the historic setting, making the whole place feel less like a formal gallery and more like a curated journey through time.
That sounds like a really immersive experience. Now, okay, the building and art are there year-round, but there's a special time, early summer, when the museum just bursts into life,
Yeah.
right? Especially the courtyard.
Oh, absolutely. You're thinking of the hydrangea exhibition. It's usually from mid-May through to early July, and it is spectacular.
Hydrangeas are classic Kamakura, but this sounds special.
It is. They have over 100 different varieties blooming all over the courtyard and lining the garden paths. And they have this hydrangea path where specific types are labeled. You'll see names like Himiko, First Love, Aquamarine,
Oh, lovely names.
Hina Festival, Princess Sen, Kokono Tamari. It makes it really engaging. Even if you don't know much about plants, you can just enjoy discovering all the different shapes and colors.
And for anyone wanting to capture that beauty, maybe for Instagram, any tips?
Yes. Good point. The west side of the museum gets lovely afternoon sun. It really brings out the shadows and colors of the flowers, perfect for photos. You get some really rich, vibrant shots then.
Good tip. Afternoon light on the west side.
And here's something you might not expect. A bit of rain actually makes the hydrangeas look even better.
Really, rain makes them better.
It does. It deepens the colors somehow. So don't be put off by a rainy day in Kamakura for the hydrangeas. It's actually prime viewing time.
Huh. Okay, embrace the drizzle. Good to know.
It's a nice reminder to find beauty in, well, all conditions. Oh, and definitely check out the view from the second floor balcony. It looks out over the courtyard, a really peaceful spot to just stand and take it all in, rain or shine.
Sounds lovely. So let's bring this back to planning your visit. Getting there sounds pretty straightforward, right? It seems well integrated into the whole Kitakamakura area.
Oh, incredibly easy. It's literally a 2-minute walk from Kitakamakura station.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, and that's important because Kitakamakura itself has a very different feel compared to the main Kamakura station area. It's much more laid back, quieter, perfect for just wandering, enjoying the atmosphere, those traditional white walls, the dark wood beams, tiled roofs. It really feels like old Kamakura.
And location-wise, it's right in the middle of things, isn't it? Surrounded by some major temples.
Absolutely ideal. You've got famous Zen temples like Engakuji right there, Megetsu and the Hydrangea Temple, Kenshoji, Tokeiji, Jochiji, they're all nearby.
So you could easily combine a visit to the museum with some temple hopping.
Definitely. It makes for a perfect little tranquil pause within a day of exploring those cultural sites. It really is a great spot for anyone seeking a bit of calm reflection mixed with history, art, and that seasonal beauty we talked about.
Yeah.
And while the big famous spots are great, places like this museum offer something different, something you appreciate more perhaps on a longer stay, especially if you're staying at Toshi's place. Having that self-service setup, the kitchen, it gives you flexibility.
How so?
Well, you could use your morning flexibly, maybe visit the museum when it's quieter without feeling rushed. It lets you really soak in these deeper experiences, which I think enhances the whole trip.
That's a really good point. That flexibility can make a huge difference for these kinds of discoveries. What about practical things like photos, parking?
Good news on the photo front, photography is allowed both inside and outside, so you can capture the architecture, the garden, the art exhibits. Feel free. For parking, there isn't a dedicated lot at the museum, but there are coin-operated parking lots just a couple of minutes walk away, so driving is definitely an option.
Okay, good to know.
One thing to note is that there are stairs, so fully barrier-free access is limited. However, certified assistance dogs are welcome.
Right.
And one last tip, always best to just quickly check their official website before you go. Opening hours can sometimes change slightly with the seasons or if there's a special event on.
Like longer hours for the hydrangeas, maybe?
Exactly. So a quick check ensures you have the latest info and can plan the perfect visit.
Well, this has been a fantastic exploration. The Kitakamakura Old Private House Museum really does sound like this incredible, harmonious mix of history, art, nature, all wrapped up in that amazing story of saving and rebuilding.
It truly offers something special, a calm, reflective space away from the main crowds, a chance to connect a bit more deeply with Kamakura's culture, its past and its present. It's an experience that I think really stays with you.
So maybe the final thought for you, our listener, is this. How might taking the time for these kinds of deep dives, really getting into the layers of a place like this, change how you experience travel altogether, beyond just seeing the sights?
What did you think?
We hope the rest of your stay at Toshi's place will be filled with wonderful memories.